Hello guys, my name is Voljo. I'm a 17 years old jungler from Denmark and I am playing for UniQ this split.
大家好，我是 Domino 的中单。
I think it was like in second grade or something when I was 8 or 9 years old. The bigger kids were playing it at the school and then I usually stayed pretty late. So when they went home for school, I got to use the computers that we had.
18年开始吧，然后差不多在2年前吧，2年前萌生的吧。
And then, well, it's the only game I saw them play, so naturally I thought I'd give it a shot. And then, yeah, I was hooked. I think just played it every day since. I think.
怎么说呢？刚开始来就打了2场，然后还不是很熟悉吧，就感觉这版本中路。
Well, I didn't really know what to expect going into the split actually, because I knew, like, I played Div 2 last split, which went pretty well. So I knew I'd probably like have the level and be able to compete.
不太认识这个联赛其他人，所以我觉得我自己第一吧。
Okay. Yeah, in terms of what I've seen so far, I do have like high hopes and confident that we can make a strong split. And I think that playoffs are for sure reachable after what I've seen so far.
我觉得既然选择打比赛，那肯定目标还是第一的。
I think I've already shown that I mean, I can do it, and I think if I keep up the improvement and the progress, it'll look pretty good, the split. So basically just stay on track and keep doing what I'm doing, and I think we'll have a great split.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the NLC 2023 summer season. My name is Weed and today we are starting the second round robin and I am so excited. And we have a banger broadcast team coming your way, including a special guest, so let's get them in here. Special guest is of course going to be Initialize. So hello and welcome to the team. Welcome back to the NLC broadcast desk. I think it's
it's a pleasure to be back.
A better way to introduce you. So I assume that you are incredibly hyped to be back.
Yeah, massively so. I have missed dearly being on the microphone. I'm going to get a warm welcome for Veteran in the corner. I think he's down there. There we go. That's the one. Yep. Found the angle. I had to think about that one briefly as I wasn't working. But yes, I am so glad to be back. I'm so excited to be here. The more things change, the more they stay the same, apparently. And I am so ready to get involved with this.
Yes, Veteran?
Oh, okay. Hello, what's up? I'm glad to be here. I didn't know if it was me, didn't know if it was me. I'm looking here.
I see I've caused chaos.
Dude, I was just so happy that I've initialized here, you know? I was just enamored at it. I was looking at my screen. It was like, he's here. Look at the quality of the camera going there. By the way, the beard, he pulls it off. It's rare to find someone in esports that pulls off a beard quite so well. Rudude has competition now.
Exactly. When are we doing the beard off, Rudude? Let's
you know, I'll have to fly out one day and we'll fully compete.
No, I'm excited. Other than the beard matchup, alright, the other big thing we have is Natives v Verdant, the rematch, finally, where we get to prove once and for all that Natives can kick Verdant's ass 10 waves up the street, right? That's at least what we've got going today for the predictions. Please don't fail me, then, Voxley. So, happy days, excited times. I'm looking forward to it. Rudude, I think it's your turn.
I'll go. It's our first day of split, or round 2, right, of second round robin. So everybody's played each other once now. We've now got a full lineup of standings where every team has played every team. It doesn't necessarily look like we may have expected. Oh, production
look at
goes.
that. That's timing, I know.
Look at that. And this is really entertaining because it's not one team has 7-0, the other team, bottom team has 0-7. It's like a cascade from there. We've just got a massive mess in the middle of the pack.
That's one way of putting it.
I'm of the opinion that third and fourth, so from Ruddy to Veneer, could all make playoffs. And honestly, Unique as well, if they sort stuff out.
Yeah, and I think that's for me.
Two games between all those teams, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, right? Like, essentially, they're all like what you refer to traditional sports, like 6-point matches. We know these teams are going to face off against each other. And speaking of that, let's get the schedule of today. Veteran already teased a little bit for the fact that we do have Natives versus Verdant, but also we have Fall versus Domino, Veneer versus Ruddy, and then we also have Nord versus Unique to close out the day here. So some absolute bangers. And if we start with the first matchup here in Domino versus Fourth Wall, Veteran, should be a pretty dominant win for Domino.
Should be. I mean, Fourth Wall, they've undergone some changes, but we did like to see what we saw from their mid laner yesterday, right? He was actually 5-6 at one point on that Nico, looked very, very dominant there. They were very, very close to a win, right? Chimera being a huge part of that, constantly landing these hooks, constantly landing these engages. The Baron turn was an immense amount of confidence for a team that hasn't really had that much time together. I do feel like if you give this team time to gel, they can definitely take games off of the bottom half. I'm not saying they're about to completely destroy Verdant or Natives at this point, but they were pretty close to taking a game from one of them already, right? So this is a team, we make them a bit more comfortable. I think they can actually get some wins. They may not be at the bottom of the standings in a few weeks' time.
Speaking of this, for the second match of the day, I have a big question to you, Initialize. Will Ruddy ban Aphelios?
Look, who am I to judge the incredible minds of Ruddy when they put out the kind of scintillating content and sage advice that we all really wish we had in our lives? And, you know, maybe they just see the world better than we do, different than we do. And who am I to say what weapon combos are on Aphelios and whether you should be banning him in the first place? Especially when, you know, on the other side is a person who basically only plays Aphelios to an insane level. You know, why would you ban that away? Maybe you just give it up and break the spirits by leaving it up anyway.
Yeah, I think that's that.
Exactly. See, Rudu gets it. I'm just saying.
Maybe
they're getting that ruddy up mentality, and you know what it means to be ruddy.
Maybe they're
which
in
is doing
that
a diss track in Sainsbury's car parks at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Maybe in like a philanthropic mood, and they're like, we're just gonna let him play Aphelios one last time before the champion gets gutted in 13-13. You never know. But speaking of, like, so our third match today, we spoke about this top of the show, but that's gonna be our match of the day here: Verdant versus Natives. And actually, I'm gonna go back to Rudu here because I want you to talk about this matchup, because we saw Nilla play a carry top laner yesterday for the first time this season.
Yes, we did. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Excuse me. He said I'm going to rude, dude.
I apologize.
He's just a rude dude.
I thought he was telling me to be rude, dude.
I understand. Now, Nilla turning back to a carry top laner is reminiscent of what we got to see from him through spring playoffs. Those of you that remember back a couple of months ago will know that Nilla was a large driving force for the Verdant carry or for Verdant winning games largely got them to EMEA Masters, with the Earl in the mid lane as well. Shout out. But Nile going back onto carry tops, it's really nice to see him on a carry as well, because most of this split had been, I will say, dormant tank play, not necessarily showing up how we knew he could do. The fact that he got to pick up a carry yesterday, it adds an extra layer to this matchup for me, because if it had just been Nilla on tanks all split and he was just going to do that again, I'd be like, yeah, natives, they've definitely got a chance. But I think with Nille being an X factor with carry in the top side, I've gone a different way with my predictions to, I don't know, the general consensus of the group. So
that's fair. I mean, like, not to jump in too hard here, but, you know, Nile, over the course of his career, has been put a lot of time into Jax, Camille, back when that was more meta over the years. And, of course, yes, he's got quite a wide variety of champion pool, but the carry was always something he liked to go towards in seasons past. And obviously, that's not been as comfortable or as constant this year. But to see him kind of bringing that back, at least occasionally, is a good sign for the team.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but we're going to save that when we get to that match later on here. So our final match today is going to be Unique versus Nord. Unique obviously playing with Asator in the bot lane, not Rusty Sniper, and that is something that you are very excited for, Initialize. So we've got to see a little bit of Asator today, but can you give me a very brief description of what we can expect to see from him today?
So he was the shining light on an Ariki squad that was really struggling, particularly in the last spring split in 2022, where he was putting a lot of time into the Jinx, the Aphelios, and doing his absolute best to play, particularly in the mid game, as a really high-end DPM carry. And when they were winning games, when they were finding success in games, it was when he was given resources and the ability to carry in a mid game. Unfortunately, I wonder whether he's in a team and a squad where some of those early game woes that he suffered the last time he was around might still come back to bite him in this org. We'll see how he does. I have a lot of hope. I have seen him do wonders before. He might have to do it again, though, because 2-5 is not a great starting point.
Yeah, and Veteran, some way you hope you can do some wonders is in our prediction race. So let's look at how these are going so far. I'll say something here as well, right? Every single person on this screen, probably outside of me and Rudu, changed their predictions in the final match of today, because I set my predictions going into this entire week. I don't change in between days. So, yeah, that's why I have Unique here. But I think that this is actually going to be a very fluid matchup. And I think that the common consensus is that Domino is going to beat Fourth Wall. Vanir, a single Vanir pick here from Dockling, I think is super interesting.
What a surprise.
Yeah, oh no.
A team with several Danes gets the Dockling seal of approval. No way.
No way.
Before. Never in my life.
Nope, never seen that ever before in my life either. But obviously that is my favorite screen in the entire NLC, because it has my name next to one. But yeah.
Watching right his jaw. There's a little
I'm just stirring the
stepping into this. I'm seeing there's like some behind the scenes drama going on here. I'm staying out of this one.
But you have to go right back into this, right? In this space, we're gonna start getting ready for the first game of the day. So I will leave you guys, and you guys can start breaking that one down in more depth.
Thank you so much, Weirton. What a lovely guy. Even if he is currently winning the prediction race, and I'm sure that's causing some, need to be angry at him from my exact tension. Really exactly is. It. Jets, trying to get away from predictions before I start a fight on air. Domino versus Fourth Wall. I think we're all kind of the consensus. This is probably the least close game on paper of the day. Yeah. Veteran, if you were Fourth Wall at the minute, you kind of had some praise for how they looked a little bit brighter yesterday. If you were them in this matchup, what would you even be looking to do to try and make this look a little bit more competitive?
I'd be unlocking Chimera as soon as humanly possible. I think getting that support out on the map as early as you can, trying to play these skirmishes, playing the bot lane Drake timing, transitioning him into Herald, these really basic macro timings that all teams should learn, I think is an absolute priority for them. Not just to develop normally as a team, but because Chimera is such a huge part of every bit of success they had yesterday. Yes, Jim Race was the guy with the big stat line, with the big score line, and he made some significantly strong engages. But some of those were follow-up on Chimera. Chimera's ability to follow up on them as well was a big thing. And if you're winning in these fight situations, then force those fights, right? So I want to see Jim Race on a mid laner with a lot of AoE, a lot of engage potentially, a lot of CC, something just completely broken, and one of those has now been banned out. And I want to see Chimera on Nautilus, on Leona, None of this
Yeah, for
enchanter stuff. All right. Leave that to the
Get
other
some
guys.
hard engage in there.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Fourth Wall are doing the unsurprising thing of banning away the pocket picks, the Draven, the Olaf. When you were prepping me today, Rudude, those were the things you called out as nearly must bans against Domino.
Yeah, they just get 2 bans for free, basically.
Yeah, that's it. They
so
must go.
It does open the world where there's some very high power generic picks in the meta, and I think that Cassante sort of fits into both of them, where is very powerful and is also one of Spooder's go-to picks. Whenever he doesn't play Olaf, he plays Cassante. Now they're both off the board, so it's going to be a little less, a little lower down in the Spooder champion. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be worse.
Going through Twitch chat right now, Showmaker's words coming back to that whole copy pass was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And yes, very potent pick is off the table though. The LeBlanc ban as well as something that is kind of potent with the static shift slightly. What are you expecting as a first pick though? You got something on your mind.
2 picks are up. Yeah, 2 picks are up. Both Milio and Yuumi are up, and the Milio-Yuumi trade has been a big debate over the course of the ERLs and the LEC. We're used to seeing one of those 2 banned here, but because you have these Draven Olaf bans as a guarantee on the side of Forful, something has been picked, but it's just too powerful for our observers to be able to comprehend.
We'll find out. Might be the Milio, as it's the new picks that tend to get a bit funny with spectators. We'll keep an eye on with production. They'll give us a heads up on that one.
The thing with the Yuumi thing that would make it deprioritized would be that Zeri has been banned. So I'd expect a Milio. Then you have a decision, are you taking the Aphelios away, or are you letting them go Aphelios and go Jinx, or are you taking a Lucian away and going a Lucian Nami? Do Forful want to go for the Lucian in that regard? If you do the Aphelios, if they do the Jinx Milio dead? These are all the combinations that are up right now that will probably be prioritized.
And I think to go back to your point, Veteran, we actually don't want to see that, because we want to see engages on both of these supports. You talked a lot about Chimera getting unlocked onto the map. Snabby doesn't care whether he's got Prio in his lane. Basically anything to do with laning, as soon as he's got all 3 abilities, he's leaving the lane and is making plays happen. So I think in this support matchup specifically, it's very important.
And I think that then does raise some questions, right? Because the ban strategy is potentially going against the expected play patterns that we have seen or wanted to see out of this. And that does lead us with some very interesting scenarios in this draft. And we're still kind of waiting to figure out what's happening. I'm sure production will get back to us on that. But I guess at this point, Veteran, you've theory crafted a little bit. Is there a world where you just say, okay, well, they're going to pick Melio. Do I just pick the Nautilus that people have kind of done into the Enchanters, at least semi-regularly over the last few patches?
Yeah. Nautilus or Blitzcrank. I love Blitzcrank into Milio in particular,
right? Like Aphelios as well, yeah.
I mean, for Blitz in particular, Snarby getting out on the Rift as early as humanly possible with that, obviously really good. But Milio has no cleanse against a massive displacement like the Blitzcrank, right? Absolutely love it.
Brief interrupt here, but we have got a little bit of a picture from production in the Discord chat to my analyst, so I can give you what the first couple picks have been. Namely, you were right. It was the Milio first pick. Came out with a Gragas Kai'Sa in response. Then you've got Lucian Nami, and Lucian Vi, and then you've got the Nautilus in response. We've got Kai'Sa Nautilus versus Lucian Milio, gents.
I'm a big fan.
Kai'Sa's back, baby. Let's
go.
This is,
and it's Domino Kai'Sa, so 2 axes playing an aggressive, all-in ADC that not just has some lane prio because of the support pairing, but also the dive threat that comes in the late game.
Could be a mid lane Kai'Sa, by the way.
but the LeBlanc's banned. Isn't that normally what you would pull that into?
Well, that's the only thing we have seen it pulled into so far, because it is a very good counter in. But there is the possibility for it to be moved in mid lane. They got rid of the Nico, right? They got rid of the LeBlanc. It's still just an option for them. I would assume that you're going to get either jungle or top picked on next on the 2-axis slot, and then last pick will be revealing where the Kai'Sa for sure goes. It's a decentish matchup now. Maokai is still up. I would assume that would be a ban, because you want some kind of point and click in towards the Lucian. And if you're going to go for a point and click like that, having an AD in mid lane, that might not be such a bad thing, right? So they have a lot of potential setup options here.
And kind of with that in mind, of course, my analyst's doing a phenomenal job here, considering they're basically theory crafting this off what was effectively 3 bans apiece. It did pretty well there. You heard what Veteran said there about what he'd expect on the R4, the counter pick potential to keep that Kai'Sa flex open. If you were drafting on the other side, though, Rudy, what would you be looking to do? I think we have just got a slight update in terms
we've got
of the bans as well. And actually, so it's looking...
I'm
Kha'Zix
so down.
was the R4 pick, so never mind the Maokai. They've gone towards something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more hunter-killer.
This fits the theme of the composition as well. It just is 5 divers or 4 divers at the minute. You expect a 5th one to get locked in mid lane.
Nautilus locks in, everyone else jumps in or presses R on Kai'Sa. Exactly.
Oh my my god, actually.
Oh,
All right.
And they're
That's
just
a nice
answering with
sight.
anti-dive. So we have Lissandra
Okay.
as a response.
Okay.
We'll wait for a 5v5 to be locked in before we run down. But
Just to quickly break you guys off, because I'm aware the audience at home isn't seeing all this. I will give them a quick rundown of what we've got as the picks. So as it stands on blue side, it's Milio, Lucian, Vi, Lissandra. We've got Gragas, Kai'Sa, Nautilus, and the Kha'Zix that are locked in. Final pick was the Poppy over for fourth wall, and we are just waiting on that R5 pick. Rudude, any guesses on what that pick might be?
it's gonna have to be. I might even say Galio, like as a theme for this composition, just to go for dive. It's actually
You're wrong.
completely different.
Sorry.
They've gone for a little bit of a pivot in the back half of the draft with a Victor, which is just okay.
Some control with all your dive. I don't know. It's there for some AoE and some wave clear, I guess.
I like the
What are you
logic
thinking,
of it.
veteran?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so explain it. What are you seeing with it?
What we have, as the audience can clearly see, is a classic Lucian composition.
I
Right?
guess.
So what you want in a Lucian composition, you no longer think of this as a raw DPS champion. What it is a mid-game scaling assassin, right? Once you get on that first item, if you get your full combo off, you one-shot someone. So what you pair with Lucian now is heavy lockdown. They have Lissandra, they have Vi, they have Poppy. Poppy's mostly just going to be a bit of a protect here, but they have double heavy lockdown on their side to enable the Lucian. If the Kha'Zix goes in, if the Kai'Sa goes in, you get the Lucian full channel off. The Victor
you pounce on
interrupts the
someone,
Lucian full channel, right? The Victor interrupts that, so it's actually a pretty good pick here to disrupt what the entire comp is built around, which is the full channel of Lucian. And I do like that Jin Raze is on something that does damage, does lockdown, does AoE, everything we were talking about beforehand.
Rudude. Double lift, world's
I was
season
going
6.
to say the same thing.
Continue.
As soon as Veteran
counter.
put up Victor into Lucian, like that's the only thing that comes to your mind. The zone
does,
control
doesn't
that
it?
comes
Doesn't
from a Gravity Welt, a Chaos Storm. Lucian tries to
Yeah.
angle his ult. Victor puts down one of the two cooldowns, and then it's immediately thrown off. So
Core
it is
memory
just
unlocked.
a very solid pick.
And again, I'm aware we are joking around a little bit because, of course, the way Lucian plays, the way Victor plays, is semi-different now because they both had their kits and playstyles and items and all the lot of it changed. But the joke rings true, and I hear, well, obviously, what Veteran has explained there is it's actually not a bad answer to try and prevent the Lucian pounce, I guess. With that in mind, Rudude, I'll go back to you on this one again. Have you got a composition, kind of nameplates off, that you're thinking, actually, I like the way this one plays a little bit more considering what they're up against?
I will go. I will take the opposite
cheating.
side. I'll take the
Okay.
opposite side. I like. This is personal preference. I'll say I like teams that are aggressive, and I think that Domino have given themselves a lot of
few
tools
more
to be
go-buttons.
aggressive, to take a fight in this mid game where Lucian is looking to be as strong. They've got a lot of tools to shut down the Lucian and make sure that the mid game spike is hit at a delayed point in the game, where you can be matching with a significant item advantage on your Kai'Sa if they've used this Nautilus well enough in the early game.
Okay. Veteran, give me some counterpoints, because I'm seeing Emilio, really strong. Vi, arguably the strongest jungler on the patch, or just this whole damn year, been banned all the time. I'm seeing a few go buttons there, plus Lucian. That seems pretty okay as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really simple composition to pull off, right? No, it's not on Chimera, but a lot of it is on Jinray, and Jinray was playing so well yesterday, finding all these opportunities, and now his team, the perfect chance to do it. And to be clear, right, Ragnar on that Lucian, I think, has a lot of potential. He did play very well yesterday, right? He was on a much more complex champion. This time, it's like, have we locked them down? Okay. Boom, bang. Kha'Zix, you think you're an assassin. This is the real deal.
Not anymore, you're not. And I appreciate the props being given. Actually, both my analysts, they're pretty content to say both these comps have got the ways to play this game. It's more about a certain element of execution on here. Quick heads up here from production as well. It does seem that the match is paused. Not quite sure as yet, guys.
Everything's
but when we
going
find
well.
out, we've had so many things have gone perfectly. I come back and clearly break the whole stream. It's a nice, easy start here, guys. But I guess maybe then we'll take this moment to take a little bit of a bigger picture, because of course there has been a little bit of discussion actually before we go too much further and I bring this bigger picture thing forwards. We did get a note from production. It appears there is a bugged skin thing going on, so I think it might need a quick remake of a game or something. We'll find out. Once we know what the result of all this is, we'll let you know, but that is currently the issue. There's a bug in a skin. Back to the bigger question, though. Fourth wall, very turbulent split. Lots of player changes, lots of shifts going on. Bit brighter. I know you said you had some hope for this team. Actually, they might be able to pull up a little bit further into the standings the way things are. Obviously, Kemra, very big veteran player, role swap, yes, but a lot of experience on rosters that needed some magic to happen because they were a bit low down the standings. I think back to M&M back in the days and some of the relegation matches and him pulling out some magic back then. What would be the upper ceiling of the team considering the difficult position they're starting in? I'll start with you and we can move over to Rudude afterwards.
Ooh. So...
Not to put you on the spot there, but to put you on the spot.
Well, okay, so the biggest issue I see with 4-4 is that if I see any kind of disparity here, it is when it comes to Uten Faye versus Spooder and Shackle. Spooder and Shackle have had a really, really good split.
Really good split, yeah.
They're very experienced. They have played on their full 5-man lineup for a lot longer. All of these are definitely working against those two that thus far, they haven't looked the most comfortable. Like, we've put a lot of plays onto the mid and to the bot lane of 4-4. But those guys, we do need to see more. And it's not on them, by the way. Like, once you do changes to a team, it's not just that one role that goes down. Everything is suddenly off. Everyone is a couple of millimeters off on their calls. You don't know how they work best. They don't know how you work best. Suddenly everything is all out of sync, right? But right now, they're the two that I need to see step up in performance to guarantee that these guys can get wins. But
so
no
if they were
offense
going to improve, that's where it would be there. No, of course not. But
Yeah,
it's a
but for
difficult
sure.
scenario to be in, and there's questions being asked of them. And I think that's perfectly reasonable to be calling out. And Rudy, maybe I'll throw this one over to you then, because when we were kind of doing some prep, and you were, thankfully, thank you again, mate, for this, just getting me back online with where things are at the NLC at the minute. Two of the players you gave some props to for having stepped up the split, particularly compared to the last one, were Shackle and Snabby, who have largely been having pretty decent splits, considering, again, a slightly inconsistent split. 3 and 4 is not necessarily the best scoreline you could ever ask for, but Shackle and Snabby were two players you pointed out and said, look, these guys have been on the up and up.
And they were... Oh, I think that Shackle actually performed fairly well in spring as well. And then, like I said, has improved through into summer. And now with the with Snobby as well, playing the same style, but having decided improvements. Because in spring, he was making these roams, and we were going, this is a Snobby roam for sure. And now we're like, oh, this is a Snobby roam for sure. The intonation in the voice is a lot more positive. The fact that he's been looking more proactively and that the plays are now starting to work. It's good to see that not just they've improved from spring to summer, but that it's the building blocks of Domino that have improved from spring to summer as well.
Awesome.
These are 2 of the 3 that they built up and came back with on the same squad.
Have got word from production as well. We are having a remake, so it does mean we have got an NLC podcast to go through. And we've been doing that most of the time anyway, because we're having to deal with some solid, sort of, what's the word, deductive work in the draft there from both of you. I'm looking at you staring at something. Have you got something you want to start off before I start on a new topic? What have you got for us?
I won't have this Snabby slander. I heard someone said he had a less than impressive last split, and I disagree. I had this guy in my top 3 in the NLC All-Pro, which obviously all of you looked at, you know?
Actually. Okay, yeah.
I had
I have
him
him
in
in
my top
my
3.
bottom 3 All-Pro.
I mean,
I'm happy to take the argument.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, but when it comes to supports in Europe in general, it is so rare to find a support that plays a complete map state. And Snabby, I'm not gonna pretend the guy's efficient, all right? But my God, was the guy trying, all right? If I think of supports that had impacts on their top laners, for example, Snabby was it. If I think of supports that were there on the roam timing on Herald, Snabby was it. Sure, he didn't actually fix bot before doing it, but Snabby at least understood when he should be towards the Herald, right? He did so many things, and
That's fantastic.
But the games were so volatile that they netted so many wins just because the enemy had to respond to something completely unexpected because Snabby was everywhere. I was just wondering.
is, though,
It's like I
Aaron,
appreciate the highs and lows in one. It was like, look, he's got these great highs. May have come with some slightly problematic elements, but the highs were there.
Yeah,
Well,
and he had an
argument
ADC who
like
was
that.
happy with it, right? The guy was picking like Varus and stuff like this that were very difficult to dive in a 1v2 scenario, even 1v3, right? They were comping for it. They were comping with the idea that Snabby will not be playing bot lane. In lieu of
Go on,
this,
Rudy.
one last thing. Wait, one last thing. One small sentence, all right? In lieu of
I'll
this...
hold you to it. Go on, I've got the time.
Wait, I'm going to give you guys a tip here. In lieu of it, why are you banning Draven? Snabby's not even going to be bot lane. You just 2v1 the Draven. Go on.
Fair.
Okay,
that's
so
fair
you
point.
said
Now move on.
he netted wins because the enemy team had to respond to things that they never would have expected. Domino had 3 wins in spring total. Like, these wins that he was netting were not vast and abundant, okay?
That is a fair point. I take that. Like, actually, the success rate wasn't the highest, however fun it looked.
And he was impacting.
They were close to a lot more.
Great. I grant
They
you.
were close.
So, I think, like, I'm happy to say, he plays the map. Did he play the map well? Not so much, and that's why I'm happy seeing the improvement.
He was playing it, yeah. Okay,
Again,
that's fair.
this is praise. This is me being happy for Snarby as a player.
Yeah, okay. So I'm saying slightly different angles on a similar concept. With Veteran saying, look, I actually liked the style he was playing, even if it was a little unrefined, shall we say. Whereas Rudy had some issues with the unrefinement, but the refinement this split has been positive. And the large thing is that currently, Snabby has been a bright spot for the team for the madness we've just been through.
And I think that the point is that they're playing towards a very powerful top laner who I am more than happy to agree with Spuda, and I kind of, I'll say, underrated in spring, quite happily to admit that, because Spuda has been solid in spring and in summer, and that hasn't changed either.
I feel like with a name like that, I'm aware this is a very heavy tangent, but hey, I'm new here, we can do this. Why is Elise top not a thing? Why is he not committing to the namesake? Bring us back to like season 3, CP Elise top. Let's go back to OG Elise. Well, come on, Veteran, give me some room here.
Oh,
You've got to, like, theory craft this for
If
me.
you're on a team
Alright,
with somebody who plays Nico, I don't know why you're not playing Elise, all right? You know
That's
that Nico
fair,
has
actually.
unique synergies with Elise, all right? For example,
Oh, yeah?
you can Mirage as one of the tiny spiders.
No!
Elise.
That
Yes.
is foul!
Yes.
No,
Also seems like the most
that's
useless thing in the
disgusting. I
world.
hate
And then
that.
you just follow along with the, and they're like, oh no, I'm being ganked by
unreal.
Elise. Yeah, I'm being ganked by Elise. Boom, Nico just there in your
That's
face.
phenomenal.
Now,
Yes.
now
I
answer
really
me
enjoyed
this. Riddle me this. How many Elises do you see start ganks in spider form where they're trying to, when they've got the cocoon?
Well, what you do is you make sure you've got your R cooldown available, so you can repel under tower to close the range, and then you
True.
can do it that way. The problem is, the spider league's not going to come with you. There's just like I've run into an issue
Nico
already.
doesn't also
I tried
join
the
you
theory
under
craft,
the
this is right.
turret.
This is fine. So what you do is you have the Nico hide in a bush. And then because spiderlings are weird and have weird path mechanics because, you know, spaghetti code, the spiderling comes dodging out of the bush the moment you turn to spider form, and it all works out from there. It's fine. It's going to be great, Rudy.
True.
I don't see what the issue is here.
True.
I'm going to dive
I'm
out of
hating
the,
this. I'm
the
hating
rabbit
this.
slash
This is
spider
awful.
hole we've gone down. There's like a trapdoor spider thing we've created and some monstrous, awful
You know,
thing.
I'm thinking about it objectively, by the way. I actually think like a
Oh, no, what have I
PTA
done?
static Shiv Elise with like an
Probably
AP
okay to
build
wait
after
there.
that would actually be pretty decent. Like it fits all of the conditions you want for a static Shiv champion,
Your
right?
your mana consumption might be a bit rough, but I could potentially see it.
Well, you just go into Luden's post Ashes, right? Like I think if you go into
Oh,
yeah,
that's a
because
fair
now that you
item.
can opt into a full AP, I think it's good.
Okay.
Like you don't have to go.
Oh, thank God.
Chance,
Yeah.
we're out of the spider
We're
hole.
in.
We're away from static Shiv Elise top theory crafting. I'm sorry already for where we went on that one. Thank
I was
you for
about
joining
to
me in that rabbit hole,
thrive
veteran.
static Shiv. I was ready to go proper
I am
nerd, right?
there
I was
with
ready
you.
to go
I want to
proper
talk
nerd,
that one through,
right?
but I feel like we're getting into dangerously sort of like alternate universe theory here.
Dangerously
Let's be
aced territory, I think.
I'm there with you. It's getting good. Yeah, this is where it gets good. Where it might also get good is in the gameplay. I'm praying and hoping. Nothing super spicy at the level 1 as yet. I think we've seen a reset for Kha'Zix to pick up the sweeper, and that's about it so far.
You didn't put a ward down, which is something that you typically
Okay, in that case, he
see
has not
as
done
well.
that, so never mind. I
He
have just
might
misread
well
that.
have reset to buy a sweeper, but he also just didn't put a ward down, which is like your indicator, I suppose.
That's fair.
For the sweeper isn't up off cooldown until like 2 minutes now, I think, when you put a ward down. Obviously, if you start with it, then,
Sure.
then you get it. So the choices made by Shaquille are to potentially impact the map early on, even if it's just denying vision or stealing away some chickens potentially off vision as well, making sure he's safe. Oh my
Oh.
word.
Snabby goes
Nice.
for the level 1 flash. Can't quite make it happen, but does get the flash off Ragnar, which is pretty valuable this early on into the lane. And your boy Snabby, veteran, doing some good work here.
Yeah, I mean, Nautilus, if you don't land the hook level 1, you're basically useless from levels 2 until 6, and then on 6 you're obscenely useful again. Burning that flash will be pretty good on the first few levels. If Shackle decides to do something with it, of course, then it will be great. You just don't have that much setup coming in from him. It basically is all on the Nautilus, but now you have the option to just hex slash auto the guy, and if Shackle's there, that could potentially be really good for you. Unless Chimera does the most annoying thing in the game right now, which is just bonk him as Milio on the way in. That thing
Turns
is
out being
truly
a
annoying.
footballer is more important than being a League of Legends player.
True.
Not sure which pays more though.
Yeah, actually, I think
League of Legends,
probably
come on.
football is League of Legends, absolutely the most valuable esport in the world. Let's go. Rudid, both of these junglers seemingly currently pathing towards the bot lanes, though I will note Kha'Zix did skip a couple camps to kind of reverse clear back the other way. What are you kind of expecting out of this early game with the comps as they are? I mean, obviously we've seen a little bit of action at the level 1 in bot lane, but otherwise nothing too crazy as yet. Is there anyone you've kind of got your eyes on with the way the paths have worked as now is maybe Shackle?
I think Shackle's answering the question for you here.
I talked too
doesn't
long,
have
Rudid.
bot
I'm sorry.
prior.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
The thing is that he reversed this clear to prevent, or I would have thought he reversed this clear to prevent this from happening. You know, when you reverse your clear, it's to path away from the lane that doesn't have prior, so you get what you would assume to be an uncontested crab, because if he goes to fight for that bot crab, he's going to get collapsed on by Ragnar and Chimera and die.
Oh, well, speaking of getting collapsed on and potentially
Nice.
dying, Ragnar taken very low. Solid nod of approval from Veteran. It's just the chunk, but the ignite and the heal pop for that for probably not as much gain as I think Domino were hoping.
Yep, when the hill came out, I thought there was Chimera's hill coming out, but unfortunately it was not. Getting the chunk there doesn't do much except force Fallful to have to stay because they had to trade abilities on their opponents instead of get the wave pushed in as fast as possible, allowing them to maintain them there for another wave.
Well, that's where the reverse clear works out pretty well. Fourth wall. Well, apparently it's a weak wall and it's crumbling already. First blood to the Kha'Zix. That is a rough one. I think that might be a lie.
Close, did you say, Veteran? Was
Yes.
that?
No, I said blows.
Oh, I definitely heard close. That's what I thought. I was like, was it? But Snappy taken really low.
Chimera?
Just about survives. Come
Oh!
on,
The greatest to ever do it. I will not
All
hear
lies.
Snarby slander
that
on
is
this
absolutely
cast
unreasonable.
anymore. Alright? I will not.
I like Snarby. It's positive. I'm very happy.
Slander.
Rudin, I
Slander.
can't believe you hate Snarby. That's just it's,
True.
Ute likes walking in nature. Thus, Nidalee is a favorite of his. I guess insect-like Kha'Zix counts that, to be fair.
Base
Congratulations.
to Nidalee enjoyer. That's all. It's one of the.
Moving on.
Yes.
It's like backs the head onto Nidalee. There we go. Well, it's a good fact for production there and appropriately timed well enough. Domino get away with absolute murder, both in 2 lanes there. The bot lane one in particular is a little bit ridiculous to witness, and it leads them with a pretty okay lane state, frankly. They've managed to get some advantages in 2 lanes perhaps they weren't necessarily expecting.
Now, when you see Gragas versus Poppy, your expectation is that it's going to be very boring. I like that Shackle went up, got the kill for himself, is my important takeaway. You have Kha'Zix and you have Gragas, the 2
got a
potential
Dirk.
recipients. You're way more happy that your assassin gets that kill versus what I'm expecting to be just a tank in the top side for Spooder. Veteran highlighted the nature of Fourth Wall's composition is kill a target that jumps in first. If this Gragas is the one that jumps in and happens to be full tank, it means taking him down is a lot more difficult. And just to pile onto that, Fourth Wall and particularly Jinrei's wants that first reset to help the fight. The Lissandra passive, very useful when trying to snowball team fights.
Oh, this is really good, by the way. We were talking about this beforehand. I want to see them go for the Drake on the 6-minute timing and then go for the Herald on the 7, because Domino want to force fights, and they have the comp to do it.
Oh, flash for the Ring of Frost. Jinrai goes into his ult. Ute gets a kill on
Nice.
the 2 axes, and that 6-minute timer is punished real hard, Veteran.
Yep, Jinrei on a champion with a lot of agency, a lot of AoE, and he showed up there. The moment Domino were in that chokehold, he was in there right with them, punishing them for it. Brilliant first fight. Domino were first in, Fallful was second in, but Fallful have won the first big contest of the game.
Shackle comes over to shield his mid laner as Jinrai and Ute were thinking about looking for something here. Much more to be found. Wait, Shackle goes on in. Nearly gets Jinrai. Goes down. It'll be a 1-for-1, but does get something out of it. That Kha'Zix definitely feeling up to making some plays this game.
Jungler for mid laner, and it gets your Victor some extra Victor bucks, right? The scaling and making sure
That's
that
what that's the name of them, is it? Yeah, Victor Bucks.
Yeah, exactly. Get to that 100 stacks earlier, get the E-wave clear so that you could push waves at, well, would be level 7, but he's not got the upgrade just yet. Definitely very helpful.
Whoa,
What?
no
There's
mana.
a flash on the tower. Ute drag, taking a bit of damage back. There's not a lot of mana back, though, so in the end, it is just a flash plot by Clover, which I don't think he was wanting to pop in general.
Yeah, no, Vi thought he had it, and if it wasn't for the bone plating, he absolutely would have had it, but that just barely saves Victor. Victor no teleport, though, and Lissandra is on the map. This is going to be a free push for her. you would ordinarily see this turn into a play for either a neutral or for enemy jungle, but Vi not on the map, so unable to do something on the Kha'Zix here. Instead, that Herald will just be set up. The second possible big contest of the game. 4-4 won the first one. Let's see who wins the second.
And that mid gank, it as Veteran mentioned, right? It was a now timer for Jinrays to be out on the map. Just puts the ward down on the Raptor pit, but that sort of start to setting up a Herald is very valuable. Obviously, top lane isn't looking too great right now for Fourth Wall. They certainly not had their best start by even. But with being First Blooded, has managed to stabilize that top lane quite significantly and will probably have a decent impact on the coming sequence of plays. Neither support just yet made it out of bot lane.
You started Herald, but Shackle with a potential angle at the top, and you hear Veteran rubbing his hands audibly in the background. There's the cast. That is so well played. Looking for the Herald. It's a 2-for-1 special. But now what about the Herald? Down about 900 HP. Should surely be in final range. There it is. I got a little bit close. You began to wonder whether an E or a flash would get the Kha'Zix into range, but Ute does get it regardless.
Fun fact, Initialize, every single time someone hits them with the thumbs up on the winning play, they just go up on my tier list next split. All right, so good job, you there.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic analysis. I agree that the mental warfare is strong.
Oh, this is a good angle.
Shinrai, I kind of agree. It's a great oh, double ring of frost and the frozen tomb. It's not even neat. Well, he's popped and they get the kill. I thought it wasn't for a second there, but either way, it is a very dead Kai'Sa. Phenomenal rollout from Jinrai to bring the kills to even. Gold still just about in Domino's favor, but Fourth Wall recovering from the early game woes pretty well here.
I'm willing to lock it in. Jinrai is a good player. Okay, I'm willing to lock in that opinion. He was phenomenally impactful on the Nico. They've given him the Lissandra. Both of the big kill plays have been on him. That play on bot, that play on the Drake, both almost entirely Jinrai setting up for his team. They don't need Chimera to be the primary engage if Jinrai can be it. Chimera's doing a brilliant job, by the way, on every single push. He's getting vision down, he's getting control down, and he has enabled this transition from mid in towards bot from Jinrai. But Jinrai, he uses the tools very well that Fourth Will have handed him.
It's
well,
the
we've got a minute and a
recognition.
half. Oh, God. I was literally about to set you up, so you can probably keep going. I was about to say, I would love to hear more about Jinrai from you, but maybe fire around mid lane means we don't have that much time, because there goes the Ring of Frost, and perhaps in the end, Rude Dude, we'll just delay that conversation for 10 seconds, and you can talk about Jinrai now.
So that has now, from one recognition of, okay, I can drop 2 melee creeps, led into an advantage that they've been able to leverage into also a Rift Herald push that is getting even more gold into Ragnar. Obviously, one of the 2 newer players to this roster. We talked about the turbulent nature of this roster with Fi on that top side, been largely left to the Wolves, but staved off a gank, has also fell prey victim to one of them. But playing heavily toward Ragnar, given this Lucian, and we're seeing Fourth Wall cycle to this mid-game spike evolution, that assassin that Veteran alluded to earlier, much faster than what we were hoping for from, or what I was hoping for from Domino, where they've got this Kai'Sa Nautilus kill lane that has been absent, really.
Sorry for the slight interrupt there, and that was a great
600
point.
gold?
I just saw Kemera about to... What? There's a double push boss right now. Spooder in a 2v1. I saw Shackle and Snabby in the red side jungle. I thought Kemera was about to face check him. Instead, they get the recall off. Spooder just about gets out of that gang topside, and all the while, Ragnar and Yuta, I apologize, get a 2-tower shove in that bot lane. Very valuable to see indeed, and they are now the ones with the gold lead. Couple seconds till Dragon spawns, and you wonder whether that might be the next point of call.
100%. You can see Snabby angling here. He wants to make a catch beforehand. Chimera looks very, very tasty for him. Nothing he can do about the displacement if he lands it. Big point here, though. Before those 2 towers went down, the gold lead was in Domino's favor, but all of that was on Spooder. And it feels like a run back from Domino's last split, where they had Fionbun, whose name I probably just completely butchered, I do apologize. He was getting a lot of gold leads. Well, all Flaxish. He was getting a lot of gold leads, but he was never really on the carry. Spooder, we've talked about him as being a big man for them. He has the gold lead, but he's only on the Gragas. He can only do so much with this.
Over they come. Fourth Wall clearing the first Drake after a fantastic engage from Jinrai. Can they do it again? Fire's down here. Spooder is not as yet just about to get the teleport up, but it is a couple seconds off. Eyes on the dragon down. 600 AP is secured. Teleport in regardless. They want this fight. Hook onto the Poppy. Not the best target over the wall. Shackle finds Ute. Will start queuing the damage. Massive knock up with the dredge. The depth charge, I apologize. Damage back though means it is a dead Nautilus. Clover caught in the Chaos Storm, trying to turn this one around best he can, as he will burn down to Ragnar's Ignite. And it is fourth wall that come away with 3. Fourth wall that will lock to choke out another kill. Decent attempt from Shackle doesn't mean enough, and they come away 4 kills to the good, plus the dragon.
Spooder TP's in late, doesn't have the cask to help out on this play either. Snobby finds a good engage. You're knocking up 4 people in the back, and you think that typically this is a great start to a fight.
I know.
But unfortunately, it's Jinrays diving in, cuts off all 4 of the attacking members of Domino, locks up 2 axes, which allows Ute to get in the backline. And throughout this entire fight, Shakal, completely absent. Throughout 1 Void Spike from the back, and then, yes, manages to take Ragnar to exceedingly low HP, but that type of value would have been a lot better when the teamfight was still going on.
The reason that couldn't happen is because Ragnar, the moment that he finished channeling his ultimate and the moment that Jinray went in, he went in with the rest of his team, stayed in the center of the rest of Forfall, and denied isolation damage from Kha'Zix at any point. If Kha'Zix wanted to go in, he would have been engaged on by multiple forms of CC, and he would not have been able to get the kill on towards Ragnar. So, well played by Ragnar there to deny Kha'Zix the flank. It was well played by Shackle to try to find that flank, but wasn't to be.
Knock up and a very dead Spooder. The Canna Raid comes out and it's a dead one on the top side. And the red side jungle. Shackle's dead as well. 2 for none. Fourth wall running away with it now.
I'm getting genuinely scared for how Domino even think about trying to come back into this game. The theory behind a full dive comp is that you're able to just push really hard when you're ahead. When you're behind, you dive onto everybody and then they don't die and then the enemy team collapses. And fourth wall at the minute are so far ahead that making any of these pick plays on Domino's side is going to be very difficult. They're going to need multiple seconds of alone time. Again, this is 1, but is it even
Maybe
easy?
a moment. The Everfrost gets across 2, but the damage back is pretty good. Over the wall they go with the Glacial Claw.
Well, Jinray wasn't really close to dying there. Look, he's still got 40% HP, and that's a full channel.
Not quite ult. No, exactly. I mean, maybe Kaiser could have got him, but it would have been risky. I'm kind of there with you, and yes, they get the chunk, but the static shiv is in for the Kaiser for a little bit more wave clear. We've seen that in the mid lane, but not really at a point of serious damage with this Kaiser build as yet either.
It is the static Shiv Kaiser, the variant that we have been seeing coming out, and I do think that the way that they make it out is with significant levels of wave clear, right? And they do have good tools to be able to forego sieges from the side of Forfall. They have the Gragas, they have the Victor, they are going to have the static Shiv Kaiser, they have a lot of re-engage, they have a lot of isolation. They can potentially make something happen in these sieges, but that's what we're talking about now. We know for a fact that Forfall will get these sieges in. They have control of the map, they're not giving it up. It's difficult to break them when they're splitting the map like this, even though you have a Kha'Zix. So it's a case of when this gets to tier 2, when this gets to tier 3, and it gets to those groupings, will the Gragas find the isolation? Will the Victor find the burst? Will the Kaiser find the assassination? Like, it's about how will they come back into the game. Yes, it's a lot of questions. There's a lot of tools there.
Yeah, exactly, it is. And unfortunately, they're going to have a lot of those questions turn up positive for them as fourth wall drop the second Herald, claim another tower of the game, and the map gets ever smaller and ever darker on the side of Domino. And while they have some decent anti-siege tool, as Veteran was just highlighting there in terms of the wave clear, you start to think about things like Baron, which is pretty doable at 20 minutes with the current itemization and just the way the game works right now. You have that going against you, and you suddenly end up with some of these 4-1 split pushes coming up against you when you're down 2 dragons already, and a Mountain Soul is potentially on the cards, not so far in the distant future, especially if they can claim dragon number 3 spawning in less than a minute. The deck is getting really stacked against Domino Rooted.
Their reset timers from fourth wall have been genuinely on point as well. They're just making sure that they're out on the map at the exact right times, getting to this Drake 40 seconds before it spawns so that they can go into the blue side jungle of Domino, clear out any vision and lay their own vision as well. Bai has teleport, so once again we can expect to see the Poppy come in from a potentially compromising angle for on Domino's side. And even if he has to sacrifice his tier 1 turret, more than happy to do so because it sets them up for soul point.
I'm looking at the side of Domino here as they've just said, we can't fight this dragon, we're going to try and get something on the other side of the map. And all the while, on the minimap, you can see a shove in mid lane from the side of fourth wall. They get another tier 2. They managed to get a couple of these shoves while the rest of Domino tried to overload a side of the map. It cost them a bot lane tier 2. It cost them now a mid lane tier 2. Fine, not the easiest target to get a gank off. We saw the last time this happened. He just hit a hammer on him, and they got helicoptered out to the other side of the map. Dragon being soloed by Ute, and they'll be at soul point now, and this game is looking mighty dire if you're a Domino fan. And Fourth Wall eyeing down a very likely second win of the whole split. Got to close it out, though. Even though they are in a fantastic position, still a little bit more to be done yet. Top lane we go, and a dive about to commence. Damage comes on through. Fi taken pretty low. Tower goes down. Fine, difficult pot, but look over the wall. Jinrai is here. Hammer goes through. Flash. Heroic charge. Frozen and put on ice. 2 axes. Has to throw down the ult, the heal, the flash, and just about gets out. Dive fails, and some summoner's cost on your oh-so-important Kai'Sa carry.
Slightly missed execution there, though, from Jinrai's. Managed, I think either missed the Everfrost or didn't layer his ulti in time. 2 axes. Doesn't have Merc Treads. Doesn't have any tenacity. Ragnar just kills him, though.
Yeah, so much damage. Jackal tries to solo the level 8 support and barely does, a quarter of his HP. It's not a good sign. Snabby flashes the wall into a dredge line, teleport, summoning. And nothing more to be found. Over the wall now is Ute. Everfrost lands onto 2. Now comes down the Steadfast presence. And there is no more presence to be steadfast against. They're all just dead. Domino collapsing like their namesake. And some Iceborne subjugations come out. Domino are being broken to the will of Fourth Wall. They're turning to the audience and living up to their namesake and saying, are you not entertained? This is what we were hoping for. This is what the new players into the roster mean. And it's looking like a bright game indeed from them. Up 5,000 gold. Last outer turret falls. You can't really ask for more, can you, veteran?
No, you can't. I mean, a composition that wants to go for resets, that wants to go for the assassinations, need 3 things. You need displacement, you need lockdown, and you need burst. Fourth will have all 3 of those. Dominoes are severely lacking in the lockdown element, short of Snarby always having flash up and always having his auto passive up. They have the displacement, they have the burst, they don't have any lockdown, and in these fights you can see the ease of execution that Fourth Wall have had with their composition at each one of the early contests. It's just snowballed, and now they have an easy composition that is obscenely overpowered and can basically burst down anyone on the side of Dominoes now. A tankiness does not exist when they're this far ahead in itemization and they're this far ahead in positioning.
I mean, I feel like this is kind of one of those poison chalice questions that analysts get asked all the time, because it does have to be one of those questions now where you're down Mountain Soul, pre-20 minutes, Barons just spawn. How on earth did Domino try and stall out this game to even get a couple items onto the Victor and the Kai'Sa? I'm not going to talk about winning yet, because I need to see them find a way to stall right now.
So
maybe we don't get time.
This.
Literally that. The Kha'Zix is dead. I think the dry tone of Rudude explains exactly where this game is. 2 dead already. Ragnar stays alive. Spooder just can't get on top of the Lucian, who puts a double tap and a double kill into the back of Ute. All the while, Clover is being put on ice again. Jinrai will lock him in a frozen tomb, and hasn't that been the case this game? 1-1 and 9 has been locking up so many key players on the other side for his team. Now it's an inhibitor turret under siege. Baron's just spawned, and I feel like Fourth Wall can consider the Purple Worm. They're beginning to back away and consider doing it now themselves.
Yeah,
In answer to your question, not that way.
Oh dear.
The fact that Sans Baron, Sans Soul, they would have been able to break open that turret if they'd have wanted to, really speaks to how far ahead Fourth Wall are. The Baron really a formality at this point.
I mean, I said it was a poison chalice. It really was. Literally, as the moment I started speaking about it, it just nearly go down. Shackle, steadfast presence, prevents the axes over the wall. He's just dead. Fourth Wall give him no opportunity to get into the pit. You respect the opportunity, but there's 1-5-1 bug. He's certainly not looking particularly dangerous this time around.
That was really risky. Fourth Wall. Like, Shackle has flash as well. If they just 50-50'd and Shackle steals that, it probably stalls the game for another 30 seconds or so.
But I present to you Poppy, who gets to say no, and then just
Poppy can't
splats
say
him against
no
the
to
wall.
flash. Shackle flashes in. Cheeky steal. Don't mind it.
Don't mind it. Okay, you know what?
I mean, now they lose all prior on the bot side.
I'll introduce another concept here. Fourth Wall are the only guys that were intelligent enough to kill Taxa before starting a Baron. Okay, so there's no way Shackle's gonna do it, alright?
Prince of Thieves dies before getting to steal. Genius concept.
Yes. Dude, it was amazing. I feel like that was the first time in 2 splits I saw a team think, maybe we shouldn't leave this guy alive.
In fairness, Taxa has made a name of himself across ERL history as being able to do that. A little harder to squash before a fight than perhaps might otherwise be anticipated. But we've got ourselves 40 seconds until potential fourth wall. They've got Baron to their name. They've got themselves 8,000 gold to the advantage. Well, there's little more they could be asking for. Just a matter of closing out the game. Can they do it? Is perhaps the question we have to ask for, because fourth wall, 1 and 6, have not been the cleanest at doing so, but new roster, new me. They're on to Nexus turret, or inhibitor turrets, I apologize.
No, I mean, with this new roster, right, we said yesterday they had a decent enough game. Just weren't quite able to find the close. Another fight. Starts tanking. They're okay, though.
Jinrai gets over the wall, and no caster curses yet. We praise them, and they haven't died. That's a good sign.
It's a win. But like I say, they've with this roster looked decent so far, and now they're gonna have to try and battle this one out.
To Hail Mary, Nautilus gets sent to the depths and right back into the air. Shackle looking for a flank, but Jinrai is just warding. There's nowhere for this Kha'Zix to go. Onto the Nexus, or the inhibitor turrets. I've done that twice in short order. The point still stands that the turret still falls. Now back towards the mid lane where they've got a wave. They prepped earlier. It's Blue Peter all over again. It's a very dead Clover. No Leaf Clover. The 4 of them have been stripped off this game. 3rd death for him. Ute goes golden, turret goes down, and now in a 3v5, Shackle is desperately trying to clear away waves. But I think that is the bare minimum he has available for him to do.
Jinrai, honestly, the highlight performer of this game, even though in this siege he didn't look like he was doing anything, constantly zoning Shackle off.
Exactly that. Now onto the final Nexus turret, a 2nd win for fourth wall, an incredibly bright look. Yesterday they managed to make it close. This day they seal the deal. Fourth wall to 2 and 6, and Domino head in hands. They fall to 3 and 5.
This is going to be one of those teams where you wonder if they had this lineup at the start, how far could they really be going? Because they made it close yesterday. They made it close against a top team. One of the teams that we are expecting to win the entire thing, and they did that first try.
Yeah, and I think that as well, like something I also I saw yesterday was the fact that Fi actually looked pretty good laning against Nilla yesterday, and today also looks exceptional. But like for me, well, Jinrai, as you guys were talking about in the early game, is that he did absolutely like just take over and just like put the team on his back into like the early fight setup veteran.
Yeah, I mean, he did the setup, he did the damage. Later on, he was a thorn on the side of this Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix was permanently going for flanks, and Jinrai was saying no. Jinrai was everything his team needed him to be, and so long as they keep giving him champions with this level of AoE, with this level of engagement, so I'm thinking Annie and Nico on top of this, I think he's going to be a huge force for this team. MVP for me, 100%. All of the winning plays on early were done by him, and he played so phenomenally well all the way through. But also shout-outs to the jungler, right? Had questions about Ute and about Faye coming into this because we need to see a more complete team. Was it a simple composition? Yes. Was it played beautifully? Absolutely yes by everyone involved, especially that mid-jungle.
Really good stuff from the top jungle, in fairness, because we saw I come into this with a death early on, right? Got first blooded at level 4, was still as indomitable as a tank top laner as you can hope for when that type of disadvantage has gone your way. Warded off a different dive and was just where he needed to be, right? It's very difficult to highlight good tank play most times because if you're just in the right spot and your team are winning, it tends to get a little bit easier because you just walk forward. But the fact that he's still doing it, the fact that he was in the right positions at the right times, helping out the team, teleport advantage as well was used really well around that first dragon fight that really exploded it. So it's those small nuances of top lane that when you're in these tank versus tank matchups actually matter, and you have to give credit to these new players for making the most of that.
Not to drag us too far down this rabbit hole, but you know, actually, it was not an easy place to start with that game. Camera dives, unfortunately, going for that play under the turret pretty early on. You saw the first blood go over the Kha'Zix. They're on that 6-minute timer on the dragon that Veteran was calling out. It was looking like a pretty good early game, honestly, for the side of Domino, but credit to the likes of Jinrai and Ute for turning that around because they were in a bit of a hole and did have to recover.
Now, another interesting thing I want to talk about in terms of Fang the top lane, right, is that like heralds were really essential to the way I saw them play the game out so far from fall. Like, they got both heralds really again in the bot lane. They ended up, you know, taking 2 towers at the back of that was massive. But like he was able to hold off a 1v2 gank while Ute was just taking that Rift Herald better. And like how much did that mean for the overall game that the first herald went down and the way it did?
I mean, both of the initial objectives going so hard over to the side of 4-4 were obviously really big. I think the biggest thing there is that both teams understood that they wanted to be forcing a skirmish for different reasons. It's just that, whereas Domino's understood that they could be there first, they could do the face check, they didn't turn the same way that 4-4 did. And what I mean by turn is like yesterday, for example, 4-4 into Verdant, that Baron, they didn't just do the Baron in front of their opponents, they immediately shifted, Chimera just dived straight on them, Nico dived straight on them, they immediately got that kill. Out of the two teams here, we know one of those two teams will pull that trigger, and it wasn't Domino. They didn't pull that trigger on that first Drake, and so they were late going in towards the Herald. I feel like 4-4 just have a really good understanding of these kinds of all-in compositions, right? These very, very fight-heavy, full bursty, full CC compositions. And obviously, when they ran that Herald down bot lane for their Lucian, they just guaranteed that they had all the elements to win a team fight later on. So, simple stuff, executed well. But, you know, there are no black belt techniques, just red belt techniques at a black belt level.
Well, all I'm saying is here, we're looking at this from the wrong angle, because you just said the two towers fell, and you know what comes after the two towers, guy? The return of the king. Kemura's role swap to bot lane. He's bringing all this experience. It's written on the cards. The narrative was there for us all to see. We just didn't spot it. It's right there.
I love Harry Potter, man. That's so good.
I was so ready for you to say you love Aragon, right? But speaking of top laners, we do have an interview ready with
you, Jean-Luc Picard.
So yeah, I mean,
I want to highlight something else that happened. I think Veteran touched on it there quite nicely, but they moved Jinray to all the turrets that fell in the early game. We didn't really get to touch on it too much, but every single structure that fell pre 15, 16 minutes before the game was like super doomed. That it was actually a really good move from Fourth Wall, not for Jinray, excuse me, but to move their AD carry in there and making sure that when we got to see the Lucian take down all the turrets, he gets to that item spike again a lot faster, punishing that break point and making sure he hits the mid game assassin point really early.
yeah, and again, I want to like take this conversation a little bit back to Jinrays actually, because like we had a very lengthy discussion about League of Legends stats before we went live today.
We did.
But we did have a but it's actually pretty interesting when you look at Jinray's overall like kill participation, all these things that are kind of also we got to see today as well. Like he is very high up there. Like he's a very involved mid laner, which I think is, if they can kind of move that in and like make that an even more integral part of their game style, like today we're giving this Lissandra pick, for example. I don't know where that's going to take them initialize.
Yeah, and I actually do want to shout out Veteran here as well, because he had made a really good statement earlier on when we were talking about stats. Actually, stats aren't always the best indicator of play styles, particularly when they're kind of in the middle of that kind of a mess. But they are often a really good indicator of comps that people are going to pick. And actually, he's gone for the Nico. He's gone for the Lissandra, two pretty high kill participation, high engage, high impact flanking champions. And things like the Annie, things like the Lissandra, things like the Nico feel like champions I think we're going to see a lot more from on this guy. And especially if he's making off plays like this, making roams like this, making teamfight impact plays like this, we are going to see those numbers continue to be damn high, because he is making those plays count, and he is being a difference maker in a way that Fourth Wall were kind of sorely needing, frankly.
I'm gonna
I fully agree.
I'm gonna have to cut you off here because we have an interview ready with Spuda on the line here. So,
Jinray.
Hello, Spuda.
Hello.
So another one of these, well, another tough loss for you guys to start off the second round robin here. Do you guys were you guys happy with the first round robin and how it went for you?
I mean, it's not like, personally, I want to go 7-0. I don't want any losses, and I think we had the opportunity to do that versus almost like, we had a good chance to win versus all teams except like Natis, where we, in my opinion, just got, completely stomped. But I think we had a good angle to get like 6-1, 5-2, etc., stuff like this. But it ended up being like a bit disappointing, and we ended with 3-4, right? So
yeah, so kind of
I'm expecting more from us.
Yep. So kind of to like build off of that you're saying here, right? This game as well today, you start off incredibly well, get this like early going, you got a little bit int coming through from Chimera, for example, in the bot lane, but then it kind of just like everything just like kind of started falling apart. Kind of like take us through what happened from your perspective in this game.
I I mean, I was kind of vibing on top lane, you know, with my CS gap as usual, and I see some like mis-executions and like bad, let's say, read on what to make of a play, you know, and so there was a lot of that, you know, on the Drakes. Like we didn't necessarily have to take them; we could just give them a focus on scaling. But at the same time, if we execute them better, you know, we could actually get some kills and maybe get to the Drake, you know, and get a good scaling while getting ahead early game. But because we kind of didn't execute these things properly, and also like took some bad plays, we kind of ended up just slowly behind, you know, no? And then eventually it was like to the point where we just couldn't kill them in time.
Thank you. Let's look forward a little bit, right? Because we're gonna go into next week, new patch, I believe. What changes are you hoping that brings to like the overall meta game that is taking place right now?
I've already started cooking some stuff, you know, you can call me Gordon Ramsay, and I'm excited to bring it out in the next patch, because there's some exciting stuff that might, you know, give me some more agency that would be pretty fun to bring out.
That sounds amazing. I'm always down for people to cook, even if they end up going like full ruddy, you know, bring out the masterpiece and stuff. But I'm gonna let you go now, Spudo. Get back to your team, start talking through what happened, prepare for next week, and get back to the kitchen and start cooking. I want to see some damn spicy picks next week.
Have a nice one, mate.
Likewise.
Are we going back? Oh,
we are indeed going back, veteran.
We were debating whether it was going to be us back. So we were like, is it us? Is it not? And it was. Hello.
So spicy cooking coming through next week potentially from the likes of Domino, Esports.
Main top.
All right, Rudud. You go.
It's a least top. Come on, we went over this, guys.
Yeah, it's a
My bad.
He's just like, why do you bother fear crafting? You're not going to pay attention, dude. Like, come on.
Okay, guys, I have the top limit, okay?
So like, look,
I have the top limit for next week, right? Elise, Shyvana, Renekton. Season 3 trifecta in the top lane. Anyone feeling it?
As long as they take Smite, I'm there.
And Jax, okay.
Mundo. Do you remember Mundo?
Mundo support.
Season 4
So
Mundo, Jax, Renekton 3, man. That was the best times.
I want Season 3 LeBlanc and Cassidin. That's what I really want. Those, like, what was it, 90 to 100%
Nobody wants that. Don't lie.
No, they don't.
Yeah, Season 3 Worlds.
Wasn't it like 98% ban rate or something for Cassidin and Pope?
LeBlanc had a silence on his Q. Cassidin was just foul, would hit level 6 and murder everyone. So yeah,
how about like a special event like Death by a Grasp? Any takers?
It's called Nexus Blitz.
That would be, I'd be okay with that. If they put that in the new 2v2v2v2 mode, that'll be pretty fire.
I'd be down.
I've had a concept for a League of Legends game mode, and I wanna like gauge the temperature of what we think of it here. Is we just release a League of Legends 5 versus 5, but every champion is playable when they were in their most broken, overtuned state. So we have
release Sin Sao just slaps everything though.
It's Feral Flare
Old school League of Legends.
For SLO 4.20.
Is everything OP if everything's OP? You know.
I'm gonna have to cut this conversation here because the man of the hour right now is ready on the interview.
That's Jinrai.
That is indeed Jinrai. So I gotta ask. I don't know if you heard that discussion here. First of all, congratulations on your victory. But what do you say? New League of Legends game mode with every champion at its most broken state ever. Yay or nay?
Yay. I don't know. I don't play ranked.
Fair enough. That is spoken like a true warrior here. So you got to play something like the Lissandra here, which is a first time of the season, I believe, just in general overall in the NLC. Do you prefer playing these champions with like a lot of agency, a lot of setup?
I do a lot, but I mean, it's between that and then control mages. I would say.
Then obviously, like Lissandra pick in this game, just a strong anti-dive pick in general as well, right? Really helping you facilitate this. You can kind of like take us through the opening dragon fight here, which is really what like kind of set you up for success.
Yeah, I mean, we had planned from the start of the game that we wanted to play first Drake, and we saw that the enemy team were like on Drake, and it was like really free fight because I had Flash and R, so it was destined to be good.
Yeah, that's the base setup for these chokehold fights with Lissandra, right? So I want to hear like a last question for you, right? So now you're finally assembled the final form of Fourth Wall, right? Like stable team core, everything is good. Are you guys making playoffs?
We are, no doubt.
Great, love the confidence. Thank you so much for your time, Jinrace, and thank you so much. Congratulations so much, obviously, on your victory. Hopefully, get to speak to you next week in another winners interview.
For sure.
And with that, we are going to be going to a short break. When we come back, we'll have even more action from the NLC, so don't go anywhere, guys.